Apple showed off some slick new upgrades to iOS 15. Capcom has been accused of copyright infringement in the making of some of their best games. And you can play as a fox packing a minigun in one of the sweet-looking indie games heading to PlayStation. All that and the latest and everything cool today in The Rundown. Hey everybody, welcome to The Rundown. My name is Victor Lucas, and it is my pleasure to bring you information on all the fun stuff that's going on out there in the worlds of video games and entertainment and technology. We're going to have a great show today, and it's brought to you by our friends at the Gaming Stadium. They are Canada's leader in online esports tournament facilitation. They've got tournaments happening every weekend that you don't want to miss out on. You can join up with them at tgs.gg, and please tell them that Vic from The Rundown sent you. All right, today's episode is dedicated to Mark Ferrer, who said this on my Billy Campbell interview. Thank you for watching that, by the way. Disney owns both properties, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that Cliff Secord and Steve Rogers could have met at some point. I have been saying this for years. I would love to see the Rocketeer and Captain America and maybe Indiana Jones punching out Nazis during World War II. I think that would be awesome, and Disney does own all those properties and probably a bunch more, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. But we can dream, right, Mark? All right, let's start dreaming with The Rundown. Apple threw their big WWDC21 event today, their Worldwide Developers Conference, and they showed off a bunch of things. iOS 15 was one of the big deals of the show, and it went for about an hour and a half. There's so much stuff to cover in here. They were showing off new FaceTime video. They're showing off the ability to share music and video with your friends over FaceTime so you can chat about it. They've updated the iMessage app so you can tap on a stack of photographs and share them. This is what blew my mind. You can actually take a photograph and then go into the text in the photograph and copy that using AI learning and stick that in as text into an email. I couldn't believe when I saw that. They're also doing some cool things with the iPhone now and the sophisticated camera technology where you can create 3D objects and stick them into AR super quickly. And basically they stuck it up in a bunch of different ways. They broke it down into the phone. They had some stuff on the iPad. They had some stuff on Mac OS, and they also had some home. And of course, they talked about the Apple Watch as well, which is really starting to feel like Apple wants to integrate that into our health. They've got respiratory rate trending now. They've got new people that they've hired for their Apple Fitness Plus technology. They're using the portrait modes in photography, so you can make some cool new watch faces. It looked pretty damn slick. I mean, what this show was really about, it wasn't about showing off new products. It was, I think, to show off what Apple's internal developers have been doing with the technologies that they have available to them, but to also inspire all of the app makers that they're partnered with around the world to come up with some cool new stuff. They showed off Mac OS as well, and they've got a new one called Monterey, so they're moving already from Big Sur. I feel like we just got Big Sur. I just updated to Big Sur, so we're going to Monterey, and one of the things that they showed off is this cool ability to have full control, so you can zip from your computer, your laptop to your iPad, and then drop a file and stick it onto your iMac. It's pretty impressive. I think it's called Universal Control. I mean, there were so many new phrases and buzzwords and new widgets and technologies. It was incredibly impressive. They also showed off how Apple is trying to integrate into the home in some pretty sophisticated ways as well. They had this amazing set. They had this guy presenting stuff who works at Apple. Looks like he should be on the Avengers. The guy is that guy's huge. But they showed off sharing a video, watching Ted Lasso with your friends, and the friend pops up. They showed off that they're sharing Siri with other manufacturers out there, so you can change the temperature in your house. You can, tell Siri to look at a bunch of different cameras around your house at the same time. I was very impressed, I have to tell you. I mean, this was I think Apple has been unifying everything, right? They've shifted over to making their own silicon, this M1 chip technology. And so what they're trying to do is make the same apps work across everything. And we're quickly moving towards that. I'm sure an update of Apple TV will be on M1 silicon. The iPad is already on M1 silicon. I think the next iPhones will likely get to that as well, a smaller version of that. You can already play iOS apps on your Mac laptops. And so there's going to be this real parity, this real sense of moving from one screen or one device to the other, and it all feels completely seamless. They also made a really big point to punch up how much they're behind privacy, and with all of these different kinds of ways to connect with people, it's like they're attacking Facebook, head on. Not only with the privacy not being able to, track your movements across apps and sites and things like that, so Facebook can make lots of ad dollars, but now they're actively in that social space, with all of these different sharing of video pieces and photographs and music pieces and all that stuff. Impressive. I was very pleased with what I saw at the Worldwide Developers Conference, and I'm sure a lot of stories are going to be coming out because it's continuing on throughout the week. It's crazy that it's happening at the same time as E3, but that's the way it always is. All right, let's move on to what's going on in the world of Capcom. Now, I won't stay too long on this because honestly it bums me out a little bit, but there's an artist, her name is Judy A. Juracek, and she filed an initial complaint, but it's likely going to explode into a full-fledged lawsuit. She made an art book, and she took a bunch of photographs of objects and textures and environmental elements, and she put it all into this big art book around the time that Resident Evil 4 was coming out, and there was a CD-ROM attached with it. And she is saying that Capcom used art that she took and placed it into things like the Resident Evil 4 logo. Now, Polygon broke this story. These images are from the suit that is being levied at Capcom, and Capcom has acknowledged that this is going on, but they don't comment on it. But you can see the photographs that she took head-to-head with some of the design work that Capcom did. And, these are massive games that have sold millions and millions of units. This is Resident Evil 4, the HD remake that came out not too long ago. And you can see, this game didn't just come out and sell really well on the GameCube. It's been selling millions and millions of copies for a long time. And things were probably played, a little bit more fast and loose back then when they were making the original Resident Evil 4. But Capcom, what sucks about this is, not too long ago, I was talking about a Resident Evil Village suspicion from a filmmaker that looked like they created a bunch of character designs, and then Resident Evil Village had a lot of similar looking character designs. And it's just discouraging, and I really hope that Capcom settles with this person. There was art used in Devil May Cry as well, as far as the lawsuit is concerned. I haven't dove right into all of the intricacies of this suit. It just doesn't look good, because there's a lot of art and a lot of examples of that art that is tied to what they're saying about Capcom. And so I suspect Capcom is going to settle, and this person is going to she's asking for about $12 million in the suit in terms of copyright infringements. And it's awful. And, it's not unheard of across the creative sphere. We see a lot of people that create movie posters and stuff that borrow images. We see a lot of design work for robots and technology and stuff that is used in one sci-fi property and then another one. But I think it's important to call attention to this because obviously this is really creative work developed by people that are inspired to put something cool out into the world, and then a huge corporate behemoth kind of shortcuts and takes that stuff and slaps it into their stuff and then makes millions and millions of dollars off of it, and that's just not right. So hopefully it's settled. Hopefully it's not going on anymore at Capcom if it did, and Capcom can turn the page on all of this stuff. And what's interesting is that we're becoming aware of this content and this information, I think, from the big leak that happened. The hackers that got in and got all the data from Capcom and released a whole bunch of information out there. So, yeah, the fallout from that is pretty damn huge, and Capcom has got to settle this, figure it out, and put it behind them. Because they're an incredible company, and they make us amazing video games that make us very, very happy. Speaking of which, let's take a look at a few indie games that are going to make PlayStation fans very happy. I noticed today that there were a bunch of new trailers for upcoming indie titles, and this one caught my eye. It's a game called Trifox, which I know is going to be coming out to other platforms as well, likely Steam and other things, but I saw it on the on PlayStation's site there. And in this one, you can play as 3 different fox types, but you can mix and match. So you can be a magic user mage, you can be an engineer, or you can be a warrior, and you've got different weapons and different armament, and so you can, blast all of these little tiny crabs and solve the puzzles. It's a twin-stick action experience, and it looks super cutesy, but it looks, it's my cup of tea, man. This looks like a lot of fun, and also my kid loves foxes. So anytime anything with a fox comes out, we catch that. We pay attention to that. This one's called Trifox. It doesn't come out till next year, and it's been in development for a while, so I suspect it's going to be pretty damn fun when it comes out. This was pretty interesting to see. Pendulo Studios is, and Microids, I think, is the publisher, are working on an Alfred Hitchcock video game based around the Vertigo property. And they didn't have any video game footage. This is just kind of like a visual slice to give us a sense of what the style might be. But it looks like it could be pretty fun. I suspect it's going to be adventure game-y, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't know when it's going to come out, but I'm excited. That looks pretty cool. More Alfred Hitchcock games, please. This one, I think, has just launched. It's called Mighty Goose, and, there's a trend in video games with geese right now. And you can just get into this mech and just start blasting at all kinds of enemies that are going to come your way. It looks very simplistic and retro, of course, pixelated, but cute. And even though there's a goose trend in video games, there aren't tons of them. And, when a goose pops up in a game, you pay attention, right? And then there's this one. It's called Grow, Song of the Evertree, and 505 is publishing it. And this one looks a little bit like there's a strategy element. It reminds me of something that Rare might create for us. I mean, they're working on a more elaborate type of open world experience with Everwild. But I dig the art here, and it looks like it's very soothing and very chill, and you've got to kind of create inside of this sort of fantasy theme, and you try to knock out all of these evil purple spikes. Purple spikes are bad, and we know that from many video games. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty trippy. And I'm actually a fan of 505 as a publisher. They seem to be able to find some really interesting titles out there. So I'm looking forward to checking out more of Grow, Song of the Evertree, which is going to be a difficult name to remember, but it won't be if it ends up being a great game. Okay, I've got just a couple quick things that I want to tell you about. First of all, the game that I'm going to be playing in EPN Plays, Guilty Gear Strive, has a very cool launch trailer. I checked this out, the game, last night, actually. I was playing it. It's absolutely gorgeous, as you will see very soon. But the trailer hints at a spectacular, massive story, lots of great anime-infused characters. They say a lot of crazy things, which I think is par for the course with the Guilty Gear storytelling. But the character designs are, incredible and memorable and outrageous and super violent and just sleek. Yeah, Arc System Works, the developers, just makes beautiful titles. And this trailer is absolutely stunning. So if you haven't checked out the trailer, the launch trailer for Guilty Gear Strive, you definitely should. And then one other quick thing that I want to talk to you guys about, and this one's really cool. Today, all over the internet, this guy named Joey Parabellum was watching the evolution of Ratchet Clank trailer that just came out, and I'll show that in a second here. And he noticed that there's a little character, Fizzy, in the background, and it's just a real trip that it's there. Now, this trailer is pretty cool because it goes back in time and it shows how Ratchet and Clank has evolved from the PlayStation 2 era to the PlayStation 3 era, and the television sets change, and all of the different items on the shelving and the posters and the console, everything changes and morphs. But then in 2021, you see all of the packaging, and there's Fizzy up there. And of course, what this means is that we might be getting Sunset Overdrive coming to the PlayStation 5. Now, Sunset Overdrive was an Xbox published title. It also came to Windows PCs. Insomniac made this game. Incredible mobility in the title. You have these characters that drank this soda pop and became incredible mutants that you have to go and defeat, all kinds of different varieties. And there's just, a tongue-in-cheek kind of quality to this, a real sort of in-your-face sense of humor, but tons of great weapons that you had to go and customize, and lots of interesting characters that you meet up with. It was really fun. It was kind of like a cult classic, and I think that there's always been a real sense of love and respect for Sunset Overdrive, but it may be, it needed either a sequel or it needed a little bit more sort of ammunition behind it to let people know how cool it was. And it looks like that actually might be the case. We might actually be getting a Sunset Overdrive redo for current systems, PlayStation systems, or a sequel, which would also be incredible, or both. We'll find out soon. But one last quick thing, and this one's crazy. Goldeneye was recently remade for Far Cry 5 Arcade. Now, this is up on a YouTube channel. I think it's the person that made it, but it's the one that I've seen linked on the internet. It's at about 100,000 views already. And what's crazy is that the Far Cry 5 Arcade, where you can design levels and share them with everybody, is incredibly powerful. And that's exactly what's shown off here in this trailer, where every level from Goldeneye is kind of shown off. You can find the whole trailer. It's about 8 minutes of diving into the entire game. Collywood is the name of the YouTube channel, and it's some impressive work. I'm sure that when you do work like this, you get the attention of the video game industry, and if this person wants to make actual video games, this is a good way to get noticed. But super cool. And I don't know how many of you are still playing Far Cry 5, but it was a solid game, and that arcade mode was really, really damn cool. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for the rundown today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again tomorrow with a fresh episode, so please come back for that. In the meantime, thank you for checking out all the other content that we have on the channel, like my recent conversation with Billy Campbell, the star of The Rocketeer. Thanks for hitting that subscribe button, and thank you, of course, to all of our EPN members. We'll see you tomorrow, and until then, play forever.